name is Aaron Greenwald, which is why it's on the screen. And the topic of today's talk is why RTL support is so hard. The subtitle is Detours and Abstraction. I hope it's abstract enough. I don't know why I put that there. But we're going to talk about RTL support in software particularly. Does anybody here not know what RTL is? Okay, one person. See, what I was hoping was somebody would raise their hand and I'd be like, so why did you come? Right? But you came because you had no choice. All right. So everybody knows what RTL is, so I'm not going to translate it except for you, but you'll catch on soon. All right. Why RTL support is so hard? First, we'll establish that it is very hard, and I'm going to introduce it by asking you if you know what this word means. Does anybody know what this word means? You guys never learned Latin. I don't even know why I'm here. This one? They're pretty similar words, you'll notice. No? Nobody? All right, this one you surely know. All right, so right around now, I know, I prepared for this. Right around now, someone's thinking, oh, but I don't speak English very well, so how am I supposed to know what Bustrafiden means? I looked it up, and Bustrafiden in Lithuanian is Bustrafiden. So I don't want to hear no excuses. All right? So the reason you don't know what Bustrafiden means is because you're ignorant, but that's okay, because a few weeks ago, I was ignorant too. I had no idea what the word means. Now I do, and soon you will. Dextro-sinistral means moving from the left to the right. Now your Latin's coming back to you, right? And sinistro-dextral means moving from the right to the left. Since sinistro-dextral sucks as a word, we're going to use RTL henceforth. All right, and Bustrafiden, we're obviously talking about in the context of languages, by the way. Some languages are written from left to right, some languages are written from right to left. Bustrafiden is a way to refer to languages that are written in a kind of zigzag pattern. So they go one way in the first line, and then the next line they come back, and the next line they go again, and the next line they come back. Yeah, Bustrafiden has something to do with the Greek word for like oxes turning or something like that. Like you plow a field that way. And apparently, at some point in history, ancient Greek was commonly written in Bustrafiden, and possibly some other languages as well. Fortunately for all of us, as far as I know, there aren't any modern languages, at least not very popular ones, that are currently written in Bustrafiden, so we don't really have to worry about that. All right, and I introduce it to you solely so you'll know how much worse life could be. Okay, we don't have to support Bustrafiden, we have to support only left to right and right to left. Now, of course, if you have software and you have to support something, the first thing you want to know is the scope of the problem. How many RTL languages are there? Anybody want to take a guess?
Probably upwards of 15.
Upwards of 15. Anybody else?
2.
2. Anybody else? See, since you said upwards of 15, I'm not going to make you list them, but you say 2, so can you list them?
Hebrew and Arabic.
Okay, Hebrew and Arabic. Very good. All right, the answer is y'all wrong. Of course, why would I ask a question where somebody might know the answer? The answer is 0, because languages don't have direction, scripts have direction. Okay, now I'm being pedantic, but it's an important distinction, because once you break your mind free of thinking that languages have directions, you become much more flexible in how you can understand how software supports languages that have direction. Languages don't. We don't speak right to left or left to right. Humans just speak. And then humans have developed over many thousands of years, maybe more, I don't know, many thousands of years, ways to transcribe and preserve the words we think and speak, and we call those writing systems, and some of those, they're written in scripts, some are right to left, some are left to right. Some languages can be written in more than one script, some left, some right. And many scripts are used for many, many languages, such as Latin. Script is used for a whole bunch of languages. So let's go through some scripts that are written from right to left. The first one is Arabic. The Arabic script is used to write Arabic. It's also used to write Persian, and Kurdish, and Pashto, and Punjabi, sometimes, and some other languages, sometimes. Some of those languages can be written in one language or another, one script or another. And then, after I was Googling this list, I was like, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to be able to list all these on one slide. So I gave up, and I hope I don't offend anybody, that the 3 dots there represent your language. So if your language is written in Arabic script and it's not on the list, it's in the list. It's in the 3 dots. You just didn't read carefully. All right, Hebrew script is written from right to left, and it's used to write Hebrew, but it's also used to write Yiddish and possibly Ladino, since everybody here knows what Ladino is, right? Excellent. Urdu script is used to write Urdu. And Syriac, not a very popular script, but it was once very popular, is used to write Syriac, and also Aramaic. So if you ever go back in time and run into a fellow named Jesus, if he could read, he could probably only read Aramaic. At least that's my history understanding. So this is a pretty important language historically. And there are many, many other scripts that are not very popular or well known, at least in the West. And they are used to write many other languages and many more other languages and many more other languages. The list is very long. I have no idea how long it is because I don't really have patience to read it. However, what you really want to know is how many people does all this add up to, and my estimate is about 500 million. I have no idea if that's the right number. I made it up. But I came to that number by going to Wikipedia and Googling a bunch of common languages in that list and seeing how many native speakers they have. So Arabic alone accounts for about 400 million native Arabic speakers, another 50-odd million Persian, another 50-odd million Urdu. I think Pashto had about 50 million, a bunch, okay? And so then I added them up and said, oh yeah, but I should be conservative because there's a lot of overlap there. A lot of those people speak more than one language, and maybe some of the people are speaking more than one at the same time. And then maybe you might argue, well, I don't know how many people that speak some of those more obscure languages are doing computing in those languages. So I came up with the number 500 million. I think it sounds like a nice number, and I think it's a conservative number. A lot of people. And when we talk about caring about your users, because this is ultimately what it comes down to, caring about your users, we usually talk about accessibility. All right? Accessibility means I need to think about how people who have different physical abilities or lack of can or cannot use my software. And the same way we've made a big effort to make sure that all kinds of different people with different abilities can use our software, we also need to think about internationalization. That's the other kind of caring about our users that we have. Internationalization says, I need to think about the fact that not everybody speaks my language or has my culture. Within internationalization, I'm going to break it into three things: culture, language, and layout. Culture I'm not going to focus on today. Language I'm only going to half focus on. I'm really focused on layout, the part of language that is layout specific. There are other things that you have to think about when you deal with internationalization of language, like the length of words or whatever, or alternate meanings of like the name of your company and what it might mean in another language. So, did I mention I work for Wix? Yeah, I was probably supposed to mention that and all. Yeah, I work for Wix and a developer, and they have an office in Vilnius. And if you want to have a job that doesn't suck, then you can talk to the people at the booth. They have yellow shirts. Yeah, so what we're focused on is layout, really. Layout from right to left. There are other kinds, by the way, of directions, such as top to bottom, which I'm not going to focus on today. I don't want to forget about those people either. They're also human beings, last I checked. All right. So where do we go with this? Perspective. Such a deep word. Almost inspiring. This is a screenshot of the homepage, the Wikipedia page on Lithuania. All right? Everybody got that? By the way, if you have questions, that screen doesn't work. But you can still ask them. You can raise your hand, you could send the question, and then it might start working soon, whatever. This is the page for Lithuania in English, and this is the page for Lithuania in Hebrew, and we're going to go back and look at the one in English, and we're going to look at the one in Hebrew again, and I'll go back and forth, and does everybody get the idea? Now, it's a little disorienting the first time you see it, especially if you don't read a language that goes from right to left, but you can pretty quickly catch on that they just mirrored the whole thing, okay? This is not the same page translated, by the way. You know, Wikipedia has like sites for different languages, and different people edited this page versus the other one, but the point is it basically has the same content, almost, and the menu is oriented differently. Let's take a look at this. This is, flipped to the other side. Even this menu over here is reversed. Obviously, you can notice that everything is aligned right. Even if you don't read this, you can notice that this paragraph starts here and ends here, etc. Okay? Seems pretty straightforward. You just mirror everything and you write, for whatever reason, you decided that your menu was supposed to be at the beginning of the page, so the beginning of the page is now on the other side. It's not a law. It's just that because we write from right to left, it makes sense to orient all the things from right to left. Now I want to take a look at a really good example of a right to left site. This is a mobile site, and the reason it's a really good example is because it's only available in Hebrew. So it's hard to screw up when you don't have to deal with compatibility. You only have to deal with one direction, and this site does it fairly well. This is a site called Yad Shnayim. It's basically a secondhand, like Craigslist kind of thing. It's where you go to sell your used crap, and other people maybe buy it. And what I'm going to do here in these screenshots is search for a motorcycle, because that's what I want, if anybody wants to buy me a present. And if you look here, there isn't much to see other than the fact that these selectors, these are like drop-downs. They're reversed. You know, the little arrow thingy, which is kind of weird, is on this side instead of on this side, and the text is on the right instead of on the left. They just flipped it. No big deal, right? Oh, but look over here. I'm searching for motorcycles from 2008 to 2017 because I only want bikes that are minimum 10 years old, FYI, for the person giving me the gift. So this is the from, this is the to. From 10 years ago till today, from the right to the left. Still, the numbers themselves are written from left to right, as far as I know universally. It would be cool if you can get me a bike from the year 8002, and I bet it would be a kick-ass bike, but it's not the one that I'm searching for here. So this is 2008, but you read from the right to the left in general, but the number itself as a unit is read from left to right. And we go on. We have more of the same, another thing of from 1,000 shekel till 30,000 shekel. That's my from price to price that I'm searching for. Again, right to left, but the individual numbers are left to right. And then I come to something interesting. There's a slider here where I can specify the engine capacity I want in my motorcycle. I'm going to take from 200 cc's to about, I guess, 1,000. Anything more than that is too powerful for me. So, but wait, why is the 200 on the left side and the 1,000 on the right? Like, shouldn't it be the other way around? Yeah, I don't know. It's not a rhetorical question. I have no answer. It's just the way they did it. And that brings to us an important point. It turns out that sometimes you just have to know. And when you get to that, sometimes if you're going to localize to certain cultures, you just have to know that that's the way it's done. And I don't know if this is universal. It could be that in Saudi Arabia it wouldn't be this way. I have no idea. And if I'm going to ship software to Saudi Arabia, I better check, etc. Here's where it gets really interesting. I press the search button, okay? And I see results. And here you get a sneak peek of what taxes in Israel look like, because that first bike is a DRZ 400 from the year 2008, and that's about 5,000 euro. So if you know bikes, you know that that's not right. But anyway, rant over. Everything's oriented right to left. It's pretty straightforward, right? The pictures, if they were to load on my slow network, would be on the right side. Prices on the left side. They basically just oriented it for your eye. Your eye is supposed to start on the right side and move to the left side. So once you start getting used to this, I want you to look at it and get used to this kind of perspective on the screen. That your eye moves from the right to left. Then I get to the bottom of the screen and I see that there's pagination. So what do? I guess I can go back. I'm on page 1, right? So I can go back to page 0. That doesn't sound very good. So it turns out that you have to reverse the pagination as well. And this is tricky, because on this screen, it actually says in Hebrew next page. But if you go to the next page, it just says page 2. And now there's a back and a forward, and you have to know that one of them is back and one's forward. And you have to know that if you click on the one on the right, you're going to go back. And if you click on the one on your left, you're going to go forward. And that's very confusing often. Go ahead.
Just like to find out that on the previous slide, you also had a back button at the top of the screen, which also went
Sorry?
a few more pages back. There you go.
Yes.
You have a back button to the left also.
Yes. Good point. Bug.
And at the bottom as well.
What?
At the bottom as well.
The bottom is actually my device. That's my LG device. And my device is in English. So, not fair. But if I were to switch, I don't know. I never checked an LG. But many operating systems also will flip the orientation of everything. I know like iOS, for example, will flip their menus and everything when you switch to Hebrew. Now let's take a look at Gmail, okay? Because this is an international company, and of course they're supposed to handle everything, right? And guess what? They do. Because this is the English Gmail and this is the Hebrew one. Let's go back and forth. And it looks pretty straightforward. They just mirrored everything. What's important to note is that here we're not really talking about language as much as direction and layout, okay? Even though all of my mail is in English, it's still laid out from right to left when I set my settings to Hebrew. You'll notice that, well, the sender is here. They're all from Slack. And then there's the subject. And then the preview of the actual text. And then the date at the very end. So the orientation is from right to left. And good for Google, they figured out that since I'm on page 1, this is to the next page, this will be back, it's disabled because I can't go back from the first page. But if I go back to English, you'll notice that it's the opposite. So they did handle very well reversing their right to left, everything. They even, by the way, if you look carefully, they reverse this icon. Take a look. It points the other way. That's called attention to detail. Most people don't do that, okay? Because they have an icon, it's an image, right? No, they reversed everything, which is really good, okay? It shows that they know what they're doing. So basically, life is good, right? I should just finish the talk here. I don't really know how to do it, but I'm sure if I put enough work in, all of you can figure, hey, if I'm gonna ship to parts of the world that aren't where I live, maybe I should think about how to flip everything, I'll put some energy into it, and my life will be simple. Yes? Y'all wanna leave? You could leave anyway, you don't have to stay. But if you stay, you'll learn that it's not so simple. Because Western hegemony, you know how long I wanted to use that word in a talk? I picked this topic so I could say hegemony. You know how old the word hegemony is? Come to me afterwards and I'll tell you that the exact same word is used in Aramaic 2,000 years ago. Anyway. Yeah, these buttons, we all recognize them, right? These are Unicode characters, by the way, icons, right? Which one's the play, which one's forward, which one's back? So you'd think after that whole speech that if I were to buy a car in Israel, it would look like this on the recorder, right? Because that's what it should be. Except I looked at my Mac, which has Hebrew keys and it was purchased in Israel, and it's not. It's like this. And I don't know. I guess that just didn't take off. And I was searching the internet, and apparently there was quite a vocal and a passionate argument on some GitHub repo somewhere for some media player on Linux about whether in RTL languages they should reverse the media controls. And it's not an easy question to answer because sometimes you just, like I said, you just have to know. For whatever reason, historically, this didn't take off. People in the Middle East buy cars and tape recorders and everything from Japan, I guess. And there they orient from left to right. Everybody got used to it, now nobody changes it, right? So even in places where we oriented things, we flip the layout, we mirror, we orient things from right to left, the influence, the historical influence of Western innovation is present all the time. And sometimes things are translated, sometimes things aren't, and if you're going to ship software, then you should have somebody advise you. Who feels lucky right now? All right, Tomer feels lucky. Anybody else feeling lucky? Okay, we have 2 people feeling lucky. Guess what? I'm not feeling lucky. But I'm going to do this anyway. So I decided that for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use Firefox, and I have a container. Firefox containers are amazing. I'm going to use a container. It has my Google settings in Yiddish. Why? Because why not? So anybody here speak Yiddish? Whoa! That's what happens because you don't speak the language. Anybody speak German? Okay, 1 person, good. So this is Google Yiddish. I don't know how many people use it, but we're going to use it today. And right away you notice something interesting. Everything seems to be oriented correctly, right to left, right? They have, on the left side, they have your sign in right here. And then you have images right here. So they just reversed everything. They even reversed your search with Google. This says with Google, which means search with Google. And this says I'm feeling lucky, I guess. No, it says mer mazel v'seichel, which kind of means more luck than brains, which I guess means I'm feeling lucky. Anyway, so they reverse the buttons, and then they tell you, helpfully, that in case you found yourself in the wrong place, Google's also offered what I guess is Lithuanian. Except they screwed that one up. That doesn't seem right. So why did that happen? I mean, think about that. You got everything perfect. And then, because you had to embed 1 sentence of left to right text on your otherwise right to left website, you got totally confused. You don't know where your colon is, and this whole thing just doesn't make any sense. Right? Nobody's perfect. Let's do a search. I'm going to search for Vilnius in Yiddish, and I'm going to fix my spelling mistake. That says Vilnius. And until a few days ago, I had never searched Vilnius in Yiddish. And unsurprisingly, I found a lot of weird results. It kind of spooked me out. But fortunately for me, most of you probably can't read them, other than this map. But everything is oriented right to left, as we've come to expect in the last few minutes. I'm sure this isn't a surprise to you. Looks like they did a good job, right? Where's the problem? The pagination. They still put the next button on the right side. Was that an oversight? Maybe, but I don't think so. I'm willing to bet, I don't know, but I'm willing to bet that there was an internal conversation where a developer was like, hey, we got to reverse this. And the designer was like, we can't, because this is a logo. So I'm stuck with the logo. Each one of these O's, sorry, my VPN is reconnecting. Each one of these O's represents a page. I'm not going to reverse the Google logo. I mean, it's a brand, right? And the developer's like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. You're putting next and back. And they had a fight, and the designer won because such is life, right? Another example of where things aren't always so simple. Unfortunately, we're trapped by our mixed direction environment. By the way, do we have time for this? Yeah, why not? So I actually dared to click on the second page, and I found something really interesting. I was scrolling down. This is a little bit off topic. It's still about right to left, but it's not about software. I was scrolling down, and I found this book. It's a Google Books result. And I'm looking at it. This book, I recognize the title. It's a math text. It's written in the 18th century, reportedly by a fellow who lived here in Vilnius, which is why it's in the Vilnius results. His name was Elio Kramer. He was a rabbi. He lived in Vilnius. He wrote this book, supposedly. And Google, because Google's Google, has this book in Google Books results, right? Except they totally screwed it up. I don't know if it's a machine or a human, but I don't know if you just noticed, I scrolled all the way to the bottom, and then I have the title page. And this is the first, well, this is the title page. Shut up. Sorry. This is the title page. It's upside down. And then this is page 1. Page 2. Well, this is all introduction, sorry. You'll start seeing page numbers in a moment. Oh, look, we have page number, whatever. I can't read that one, but here, let's go more. Sorry. Here you have page 5. And if I scroll up a little more, I get page 6. See, the only way to read this thing, if you could read Hebrew, in this particular obscure script, is to go like this. And even then it's pretty hard because it's not written so clearly. Now, I bet whoever did it thought this was right because you open it up and you see the section headers on the left side. You know, it's a textbook, so they have section headers, right? And the section headers on the left side. If you kind of scroll through and you don't really pay attention, I mean, well, yeah, I guess the titles and the page numbers are on the bottom. Okay, I could accept that. Yeah, it can't possibly be the other way, right? Because why would the section headers be on the end of the line? Never mind that the page numbers are backwards. Of course, remember that the binding in a Hebrew book is reversed. So you open it, the binding will be on the right side when you're looking at it, and you'll open it from the right. So whoever picked this up picked it up backwards and just kind of scanned all the book pictures. So this is a classic example of somebody not really paying attention. We get a lot of this. So nobody's immune. Google's got mistakes, we all have mistakes, right? Turns out, RTL support's hard. That's why I'm not feeling lucky today. And as you've noticed, it gets especially hard when you start mixing directions. Here's an email. This email, who's bored? Nobody? If I was in the audience right now, and the speaker asked if I was bored, I'd probably have the courage to raise my hand, which might be why I have no friends. But anyway, all right, so this is the thing. Now, eyes glaze over because you have no idea what any of this says, but it basically is an email from my cable provider telling me, you can download your statement online, or it's my cell phone provider, or whatever, right? Of course, if you download your statement, you're going to have to use some special software to open a PDF, and that software is called Acrobat Adobe. I don't know, I searched the internet, I couldn't find it. By the way, they also reversed SMS by accident. At least one person didn't realize that was a joke. All right. I actually don't know. You'll never know if they got the SMS right or not. Think about that for homework. Okay. So somehow, some tool got everything right. The alignment's perfect. Everything's on the right side. Everything just looks right. They even got the numbers, their hours of operation from 8:30 to 6 o'clock. They didn't reverse that, because that's supposed to be left to right, because they're numbers. Oh, good. But somehow they embedded 2 English words that they had to embed because it's a technical term. It's a brand name, so they had to embed Adobe Acrobat. But those somehow got rendered backwards. And they're not the only ones. This is from my bank, okay? Now this email says, you've got mail. You should log in to read it. By the way, on the bottom it reminds you that you should never put passwords or other sensitive information over email, and you should never open a link to your bank in email. You should always go log in directly. Looks good, right? Look carefully. Bullet points are here instead of here. And you don't have to be able to read Hebrew to realize that something's wrong with the fact that there's a period here, but there's no period here. Actually, look how the punctuation's always on the end of the sentence. There's a comma here, a period here, period here. So the last line of every paragraph, they take whatever punctuation's supposed to be there and they stick it on the right side, which is the wrong side. Right? It's just like, you got everything right, but the bullet points are on the wrong side of the thing, because they're on the left side, and the punctuation is at the beginning of the line, but not at the beginning of the line. Wherever the wrapping happens, it's at the beginning of the last line in a paragraph. I don't even know how you do that. I lie, I do, because I also have to write things, and we're going to see in a moment. It's very difficult. Here's one from Twitter, right? Okay, fine, Israeli being sucks. Everybody knows that, but Twitter is supposed to get things right. So, and this is really easy, because it's only one word. Somebody sent me a direct message. And this one word, I'm going to zoom in on it, is this. Okay, there's 4 characters here. And what I want you to focus on is the question mark, which is at the end, but the beginning. We'll spread it out a little bit so you can see. So there's 4 characters here. Now, this person who sent me the message, what was the first thing she typed? The first keystroke was this. That's the first character. Then this is the second. This is the third. So far we got it right, yeah? And this is the fourth. Now, again, you don't have to be able to read the language to realize that that's not right. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Shouldn't the 4 be here? Right? But somehow the punctuation, even Twitter gets wrong, is on the wrong side. This is very common. When I should get this question, I end up getting this question, which isn't even a question. By the way, what's really appropriate is that this particular word is Hebrew for why. Why indeed? Yeah, I don't know why, but that's the way it is. Let's take a look at text input, because all these people are trying to lay out text and they're getting it wrong. So maybe we could do better, right? Let's try to type some text into somewhere on the web, or I don't know, an IDE. What could possibly go wrong? I want a demo. Nothing. All right. So we're going to start in the Mac Notes app. This is the Mac Notes app. Now, what I'm going to type here is, I don't know, what should I type? Hello. Can you all see this? Good. I didn't wait for the answer, because I'm afraid you might be no. I type hello, and I switch languages, okay? You see, I'm switching to Hebrew. And then I type, I'm confused. Why is the cursor on the right side? I mean, the cursor is blinking, probably where the next letter is going to go, right? So if I put the key down, any key, doesn't matter, it should appear where the cursor is, right? But it doesn't. I can keep typing keys, the cursor stays over there, and I keep typing somewhere else. And then I type a period, Oh, and that appears in the right place, thank you very much. Okay? But then, if I just dare to hit space in another Hebrew letter, oh wait, what? So I go back and I say, you know what, screw it, no mixing, right? We're just gonna go to Hebrew. And I type, and then again, here they should be able to figure this one out, right? Because I'm just doing one language and I type the period, period's in a different place in different keyboards, and it goes on the wrong side. I hit space and another letter, and boom, it suddenly switches. So I'm pissed off, so I just go like this, and then I accidentally hit a 1. Oh, sorry. All right. Oh, I took away the 1, now we're good. Oh. I don't ever have any clue where the cursor is, okay? So then I just say WTF, and okay, that appears on the right side, or the right side, which is the right side in this case. Mac Notes. Yours truly. Let's do something a little better. Let's go to Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio should be able to handle this, right? All I read on Twitter all day is Visual Studio Code is the best. So it must be the best. So here, I type hello. I switch languages. And here, they got this. Because the cursor's in the middle, which is the end. Right? If I type another letter, it appears where the cursor is. That's pretty good. But now if I hit the right arrow key, where's it going to go?
So almost to the end.
No, it doesn't go anywhere because I'm already at the end. So I hit the left arrow key and it goes left. Wait, well, let's do that one again. I'm here and I hit the left arrow key, right? And it goes right. Which it happens to be right in this case. Then I get here and it jumps back there, but it's not in the same place it was. Because now it's before the 4 Hebrew letters and before it was after the 4 Hebrew letters. In other words, now it's next to the space and before it was next to the letters. So now it goes there, which is what I wanted the first time around. So what you'll end up doing is you'll be here, like somewhere else in the document, right? And you'll click here. You'll be like, oh, I'll just put the thing here and then I'll hit backspace. But you don't know which backspace it's going to do. I actually don't know it right now. I'm going to try it. Y'all ready? Boom. All right, shoot. I want to get rid of that thing. So maybe if I go like this, no. How do I get, okay, let's put another letter here. So, no, it's very different. I want to get rid of this, but I can't get it in the right place to do it. Okay, so I want to get rid of, no. I want to get rid of this guy. This guy. Yeah? So what I end up always doing is selecting it, because it's the only way. Because if I'm here and I hit backspace, it takes away the space. Actually, not this time. Only last time, sorry. This time it takes away the space. So it's kind of confusing, right? But you know who got this really right? IntelliJ. In IntelliJ, I already prepared for you 2 lines, okay? Clear as day, they're exactly the same, right? Everybody sees that they're identical? Okay. So I'm going to open up my terminal. I'm already in Node. Ah, you already saw the answer. Why did I do this? Okay, it's there. So much for my demo. But I pasted both lines in and they're not equal, right? Why? Because the terminal doesn't support mixed direction. So when I copy the first line, it turns out even though these lines look the same, they're not. If I copy this line and I paste it here, I get this. But if I copy this line and I paste it, I get something else. And here you thought they were the same. And by the way, that's not because there's some hidden characters that look different, that aren't rendered so you don't see them. It's exactly the same characters, but in a different order. Because before I got here, I typed them in a different order, okay? In this case, in one case I did this. I hit space, then I switched languages and typed. They also got the cursor on the right side, by the way, which is the left in this case. Right, and in the next case, by the way, if I hit enter right now, what's gonna happen?
You're just gonna jump down.
I'm just gonna jump down, correct. Right? Because if I wanted to move this to the next line, I have to go here. No. I mean, here. I don't know if you noticed the difference, by the way. Can you see that this is something I only saw in IntelliJ, and it's incredible. Can you see that the cursor has a little line at the top pointing and which way it's going? So it tells me where it's moving. So now I know that I'm going from left to right, so the enter will go here. But if I go up, sorry, here, and then I hit one time the left arrow key, it doesn't move, but it changes directions. And now, if I go down, it moves. So actually, something IntelliJ does for me that I hadn't seen anywhere else, and that's really nice. Once you notice that that thing is there, you can kind of get a feeling for what's where. The bottom line here, go ahead.
Also, it's kind of ironic because IntelliJ is the one tool in which you should never write in Hebrew or pretty much anything.
Right. It's interesting that IDEs and Visual Studio Code as well, right? These are IDEs where you never really write in alternate character sets, right? As far as I know, actually I once saw, by the way, somebody online wrote that they invented a programming language in Arabic. It was mostly a gimmick, like, you know, kind of like brainfuck or all those other like languages that are kind of funny, but nobody uses. Languages, as far as I know, are pretty much all Latin characters. Sorry. So you don't have this kind of need. But because they're written by programmers, I guess, they're less likely, for programmers, less likely to screw up things that they get for free, and that's what we're going to talk about soon. Bottom line here, if we can go back to the slides, I'm glad I made myself added that live demo alive, is a lot of the time that I'm writing stuff in text editors and I'm mixing, especially on my phone, because I'm always switching, you know, I'm sending a message to, a SMS to somebody and I want to tell them in English, I'm writing to them in English, but I got to put a street name in Hebrew. Forget it, right? I'm confused alternately, and sometimes I feel more like this, and then sometimes I feel confused, and then sometimes I feel like this, and you know. I want control. That's what I really want. Control the chaos. How can I do it? Turns out, there's a lot you get for free. Everybody knows in HTML that there's a direction, attribute, right? Of course, right. I bet you use that every day. Direction attribute defaults to LTR, but you can say RTL. And it does really cool things for you. You put it on tables, and it switches the orientation of the table. Okay? You can also use flex since you're cool, and you're not supposed to do layouts with tables, right? Let's take a look. This is a table. It's got LTR, and it renders 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3. Boom. This is a table. It's got RTL. It renders the 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3. See, you thought I was going to say 3, 2, 1. Well, it doesn't. It says 1, 2, 3. You just read from the wrong side. All right? By the way, I think that this is really important to notice. They're not actually from left to right or right to left. Remember when I said that languages don't have direction? Imagine languages vertically, okay? This is how I imagine the text, which is really good because that's what you see on the screen right now. If the language is a vertical language, in other words, one letter comes after, but after doesn't mean on the right side or the left side. It means in a memory stream beneath, let's just say, okay? Which is also, if we were dealing with top to bottom language, it would also be a misnomer, but in this context, it's neutral. So it's beneath, and depending on where you start, it can either be on the left side or the right side, okay? So both of these say 1, 2, 3, but in different orientations. I do the same exact thing here with flex, okay? Flex direction row, if I put direction LTR, direction RTL, it switches, okay? It's pretty straightforward. By the way, flex start and flex end will also honor this meaning of left to right or right to left. Start is not left or right, it's start, depending on what your orientation is. So that's what you should be doing. Instead, what do most of us do? Either this or this. For a long time before Flex became cool, after tables were not supposed to be used for layouts, and then before Flex became cool, everybody used float to right, including float right left, including Bootstrap, which was like the god of the Fisher-Price era of websites. Remember that everything looked like Fisher-Price sites, like big boxes, bright colors? So float right left obviously doesn't honor your LTR, RTL termination because you're telling it, I want it to be on the left or the right. Same with position absolute, obviously, okay? So what happened? Basically, your designer comes to you and says, here, I have this thing, it's in Zeppelin or Photoshop or whatever. Can you implement this image, right? Basically, that's what we end up doing. We end up implementing their dream image, and we have to use position absolute or position fixed or all kinds of anti-patterns to do it. And we throw away what we got for free. A bunch of nerds sat around in the W3C and came up with really fancy ways to make dynamic things. Same story with responsive websites, by the way. They make, HTML, web browsers can wrap text, everything's great. And then we're like, oh yeah, but I want it to look like this. So we break all the things that the web does for us for free. And by the way, the similar things exist. I'm using web as an example because it's the most popular platform out there, but the same thing is true for operating systems. Operating systems I was just reading a whole long design doc for iOS programming. It's got all kinds of rules about how you do RTL and LTR and everything, right? But I'm willing to bet that most apps don't do it. Why? Because most apps probably break all the rules of what the operating system gives them. When it comes to bidirectional text, it's this whole thing. Any questions, by the way? Because I'm getting boring again. I know I'm getting bored because I'm bored. All right. Nobody wants to ask. I'll talk to myself. Been doing that for a long time. Anyway, it turns out that all this LTR, RTL that the W3C came up with is really just a fancy wrapper to make life easier around the Unicode BIDI. I don't know if I pronounce it BIDI. I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but they write it BIDI, bidirectional algorithm. Now, it's a pretty easy read, okay? It's less than 20,000 words, the entire thing, all right? So I highly recommend you go to that link and read it. The first time I read it, I'm lying, I didn't understand a word, okay? And the second time I read it, I kind of understood it, and then I started to understand it. And the basic idea is it got input streams and run levels and all kinds of fancy nerdy terminology. What does it mean? Unicode came up with a really, really sophisticated and complex way of telling layout engines how to render text. Because again, that text, all that text we saw before during that series of oddities, has to do with the fact that text is not from left to right or right to left. In memory in the computer, it's a stream of bytes. So you've got a stream of Unicode characters, assuming that you're supporting Unicode. If you're not supporting Unicode, then the whole thing is a non-starter, right? But assuming you're supporting Unicode, which is probably what all these things are doing, you've got a stream of Unicode characters, bytes, And each one you have to decide where to put on the screen. Okay? The stream does not have direction, but each character has. And the way the algorithm works, in a very oversimplified nutshell, is it takes each character, starts at a nesting level, they call it, or a run level of 0, which means left to right. And it basically starts laying out characters. For it's the first character on the left side of the page. And then for it's the next character, it's right. In other words, after it, left. And the next character, and the next character. And the minute it hits a character, like a Hebrew letter character or an Arabic character that has an implicit right to left directionality, it says, oh, I gotta change nesting levels. So it drops down to level 1. And then the next character will come after it, but which is before, you get the idea, right? It goes on the other side of it. And then they switch directions until they hit another character that tells it, oh, you gotta go back. So if you gotta go back, you can go up another level, you can go down. I think they support up to like 120 some nesting levels. So you can embed Hebrew text within English text, and then embed English within the Hebrew, and then some Arabic within that Hebrew, and then some English within that Arabic. And Unicode can handle that up to like 125 layers, okay? But then it gets tricky because some characters don't have direction, right? Like the periods and the question marks and all the punctuation. Most of the screw-ups we saw had to do with punctuation. And so they follow all kinds of rules, which may be implemented well or may not be implemented well in various different, we can even see that they're implemented differently in different platforms. But you don't have to worry that much about the algorithm unless you're writing an IDE or some other rendering. And even then, I doubt IntelliJ wrote their own rendering there. I bet they're using somebody else's thing. I don't know. But there's probably tons and tons of layers involved in that. And if you're working on something at a very low level, then you might need to learn that algorithm. Most likely you don't need to learn the algorithm, and because I don't think anybody really wants to go that deep into it, we're not going to, other than all the mumbo jumbo I already said. But what you need to know is the algorithm exists. In other words, you need to think about supporting what you're given for free. Because what have I shown you here, right? So what is this slide? Right? What have I shown you? What have we learned? Okay, well.
That it's basically important not to fuck up what's already given.
Exactly. But even before that, we've learned something else. Decide whether you care. I didn't talk about this much, but okay, it's like easy to say that everybody should care, right? We care about our users. That's why we have accessibility and this and that. Yeah, but not caring about deaf people kind of makes you a dick, okay? Not caring about people in Israel makes you making a business decision. Maybe you don't care. The fact is that most people in Israel and most of the Middle East are using software that's already not made for them, right? And they're coping with some grumbling. And maybe that's okay, right? But if you're looking to be the next Facebook or Google, then you probably should think about it. In other words, obviously if you're making a Lithuanian bank for Lithuanian customers, then it doesn't matter, right? So don't spend energy on this. But even if you're making a wide consumer app, you need to think about ROI. This is the hard truth of our industry is that money is what pays us. And if you can't sell, then it isn't worth it, right? And so you need to think how much energy is this going to take, because we see that it isn't that easy, right? There are all kinds of gotchas. And so how much money is this going to take? And maybe that same energy, because there's opportunity cost, that same energy would be better served by adding features. Right? So I'm not going to say, you always need to worry about this. You need to think about whether should I put a developer, have a developer spend a week on this, or should she be working on some new feature? I don't know. That's a decision that only you can have. But you need to make that decision with your eyes open. In other words, if you take nothing from this talk, I want you to always be aware of the impact, the potential impact of what you're doing has on other cultures, other directions, other languages, particularly right-to-left languages. Sorry, right-to-left scripts. You see what I did there? And make those decisions consciously. Don't screw over everybody who speaks Arabic because you didn't realize. If you're going to screw them over, at least do it because you thought it was worth it from a business standpoint, or because they're not your target audience, or because whatever, I don't know, you know what I mean? And understand how many people that is. And tell your product people, this is the cost, right? When your designer comes and says, I want you to implement this, and they want you to do all kinds of things to make it exactly like that, pixel perfect, then they need to understand, wait. And I do this to my designers all the time, especially with respect to like smaller devices, for example, with the same problem. They come to you with this beautiful picture and I say, yeah, but if I don't wrap this text, it's going to look like shit on a small Android phone. Now sometimes they say, yeah, okay, well, whatever. It's worth it. And sometimes they realize, oh, they have to change the design. So the same thing with RTL. So first decide whether you care, and if you do care, then don't throw away a free lunch. You can't solve all the problems easily. I don't have solutions to a lot of these problems. It's a fundamentally hard problem. It's a theoretically hard problem. Because even when I'm writing by hand, I sometimes mess this up. Like if I'm mixing languages, what if there's line breaks? What if, consider that in a text input, the software needs to guess what I'm thinking. Am I writing a primarily English sentence with one Hebrew word in it? Or am I writing a primarily Hebrew sentence with one English word in it? It doesn't know. So it doesn't know if the reader's eyes are supposed to generally move from right to left or generally move from left to right. And so it's a fundamentally and theoretically hard problem. But don't throw away the free lunches that the Unicode people gave you and then the web people gave you on top of that. Don't break it if you care. And finally, test, review, and consult. Test your software in other languages, in languages in other directions. Review with people who speak those languages, who live in those places, who understand, and consult with experts or even natives, right? You can't just translate. Even this that we did, like I showed some conventions, there's no certainty that all RTL countries, so to speak, have the same conventions with respect to software, right? Maybe some people are used to this, or maybe some people are used to that. And so you need to have somebody who knows what they're looking at to tell you this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, this is what you need to do. If you care, and if you think you're going to be, the next Mark Zuckerberg, and you're going to have something that everybody in the world is going to use, then don't forget about 500 million people. But finally, maybe all that's too much for you, and you want just one single line takeaway, and so what I give you is boost your feed. If you learn nothing today, learn boost your feed. Next time you're in a bar trying to impress some potential romantic partner, just pop out the word boost your feed. It can't fail, right? Wait, y'all are laughing. Maybe I've been doing something wrong all this time. That explains a lot. Huh. All right, questions? Well, we'll go in order.
Yeah.
Marcos? I don't know. I'm sorry. Well, you guys fight it out.
I'll do it. So when you're building RTL apps and you're doing some sort of, I'll just give you a scenario here. Say you have a text input and you need to do some sort of validation to see how many times a letter is repeated on this. Do you loop from right to left? If you're looping through each one of the characters, do you loop from right? So do you do?
Do you loop from left to right?
I loop from left to right, yeah. So
No, you don't.
I'll do from 0 to string size.
Yeah, but 0 is left.
String size
0 is not left. See what I'm saying? 0 is the top of the stack. Imagine all of the characters existing in some theoretical pile.
Yeah.
Okay? They're like index cards. Each index card has one letter on it, and it's just a pile of cards. And what you're looping is you're looping from the top of that stack to the bottom of the stack.
Yeah.
Only at the display layer, the browser or whatever that layer is, it pulls each card off the stack and it says, okay, I gotta put this on the screen somewhere. So if it's RTL, it puts it here, and if it's RTL left to right, it puts it here. When you loop, you're looping through something in memory, and it doesn't have direction.
Okay.
See? So you don't need a reverse loop. By the way, it wouldn't really matter. You could go from string size to 0,
Yeah.
but if you have index of, you don't need a word. Like let's say you're saying, I want to know where the first character, whatever is, first aleph is, it doesn't matter. It's the first in memory. It's going to figure that out for you.
Okay.
Even when it's mixed direction. Okay? And if you want clarification, I can actually show you in IDE what's happening. And that kind of, see, that perspective, a lot of us laughed at this kind of like the shenanigans here, right? Like what's going on when I do this. But when you have this perspective, you can follow. You see, now I'm at the end of the stack. Now I'm going up the stack. Sorry, now I'm at the end of the stack. It's confusing to a user, but once you're looking at it from a programmer's perspective, of course it's going to continue here, right? Now I'm at, let's say the top, I'm at the beginning. I go down, 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 and then the next character is here, in memory.
Okay.
And the IDE decided how to lay it out. Somebody else had a question.
I was going to ask about the direction annotations on HTML elements. So like if you designate a particular element as RTL, does the Unicode BIDI algorithm still get applied within that annotation? Like, is there a way to understand the interactions or to predict how text will kind of show?
Yes. It's kind of dense. You can read the thing. They work together. The dir elements in HTML are essentially like syntactic sugar, but they still honor. Like you don't have to put. I'll show you some examples. Okay, we have a few minutes to do examples. And whoever wants to leave can leave, but I'll put a couple of examples on the screen. We'll do together. So hold that question, and then we'll play around together, and I'll show you. There's even an HTML element called BDO, which stands for bidirectional override. If for whatever reason you really want to render things backwards, you can. You can basically say, algorithm shut up, dir attributes shut up, this is how I want it. So you even get that in HTML. But in a general case, you don't have to use directional elements for just laying out text, because the text itself, Unicode handles. But if you want to move it from this side, the alignment from this side of the screen to that side, then you need directional elements.
Right.
Okay? Anybody else? Tom.
Not a question, just a follow-up to your answer. It's worth noting that these directionality elements, usually what they entail in terms of Unicode, is they set the initial direction that the algorithm sort of starts with.
So they explicitly interact with the algorithm.
They basically set the initial state, although that is also a gross oversimplification.
Yeah, you think of it, because remember I mentioned the nesting levels? Thank you. The nesting levels, all right, it just sets you can always flip again. Unicode also, one of the things I didn't mention is Unicode also has explicit character. So every character in Unicode has some level of like, it's either a strongly, right to left or left to right, or it's neutral, or it's weakly direction, right? There's like a whole set of rules and the precedents. And there are also, in addition to that, explicit toggles, like you can say, like a non-rendered Unicode character that you can put in that says flip directions. By the way, it's not impossible that the Acrobat Adobe thing had that problem, that the space inside these two words was like an RTL space because there was those non-rendered characters. I don't know. I don't actually know how they broke that, by the way. I tried to figure it out by looking in the source and I couldn't, which means I think it was broken even before on the server side. So even if you're not a front-end developer, one of the things I want to point out here is don't break things that already work, right? Like if you're handling data, okay? You're handling Unicode data, don't get smart with it. If you have to, split it and then join it again and do different things on the server side, probably what happened with that data was somewhere along the line, somebody was handling it and it got corrupted. There's a corrupt character in there or something, which you don't see, but it's there. All right, that's my guess. I don't know. Don't break it. Yeah. And to your question, and like Tomer said, the dir attributes will basically pop you to a next level of nesting. But then, of course, Unicode continues to do its thing. Anybody else? Nobody. I feel rejected. I used the word booster feed, and I'm not supposed to feel rejected. All right, cool. Well, thank you all. If you are interested in following up with me, I'm going to stay here for a couple minutes. I'll put some examples of the HTML stuff on the screen. You can come if you want to follow up with me afterwards. I'm available on the internet and email and all that stuff. My slides, I'll tweet my slides out. They're just HTML slides, so you can look at them. And actually, some of the rendering I did in there, you can look at the source. There's two interesting things. I dicked around with RTL. Some of the things I actually did by putting directional RTL, and some of the things I gave up and I cheated and I used float right left. So don't try to render my slides in Hebrew because I didn't follow my own rules. But please stay in touch. Thank you very much.